But I am also a radical mystic, breathing under an open heaven. A Tzaddik is someone, as I said, who stands tall, who works to bring about change within the world. And Jewish tradition has some amazing images about the Tzaddik, but I haven't got time to kind of explore those now. But on the inside, I'm to be a fully integrated spiritual person. I said that one of the three hallmarks of Shalom was that we have characters that are integrated. Now, I was born in India. I grew up in India. And the Sanskrit word for peace is shanti. Now, if you talk to someone from India about the word shanti, and I love the fact that it sounds quite close to shalom, they'll tell you that someone who is shanti is someone who is completely integrated and in harmony within themselves. And that's what following Jesus is about. That's what living from a Jesus perspective is all about. That I become increasingly integrated within myself and increasingly an activist outside to bring about a change within the world. Now this leads us to this wonderful word which there's a lot of talk about today, way, way outside of the church, and that's the word spirituality. We're called to embrace spirituality. It's a hugely complex word. I have a friend who's setting up a master's degree in a biblical understanding of spirituality. We've exchanged loads of emails and the definitions fly backwards and forwards and they're hugely complex. But I've tried to give a very simple and inclusive word. Okay? You'll have friends who'll say, I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. Okay, what does that mean? How can we work with that? Spirituality, I'm saying here, is that moral, emotional sense of well-being that brings about a sense of joy and awe and wonder. Now, I like that definition because you can use it with people who don't believe in God. I had a conversation with a group of humanists, very, very well-known humanists, a couple of years ago. And together they were saying they'd all previously been Christians, and that the thing that they missed was spirituality. Here were these humanists wanting to rediscover spirituality without God, of course. That was fascinating. And yet, on the other hand, my understanding is this sense of wonder and awe and well-being actually has its roots in what I understand to be the divine, and I'm very comfortable in speaking about as God. Right across world faiths, in different cultures and religions, you will find the experience of spirituality being spoken of in terms of wind, of breath, of spirit. And that's why I've used the phrase there, the radical mystic is breathing under the open heaven. Now, how do we understand reality? How do we think about it? I love the biblical image of the tree of life. I'm a real tree freak, actually, if the truth is to be known. And one of the many reasons I love trees is that you look at a tree and you see its beauty, you see its trunk, you see its height, you see its branches, its leaves, you may see its fruit. But what you realize is that in looking at the tree, you're only looking at half the tree, because for everything you can see above the ground, there's the same underground in the root system, which is providing the life and the energy and the security for the whole tree. So a tree, I believe, is a symbol, an image of reality. That which is both visible and invisible. Behind everything that we recognize as being visible, there is a whole dimension that is invisible. Reality is holistic, it's integrated, it is complete, and I believe it is rooted in God. If what I am saying is true, and I'm always open to be challenged, if what I'm saying is true, then at a stroke, the whole concept of the supernatural is put into oblivion. I don't believe in the supernatural in any shape or form whatsoever. The Bible doesn't believe in the supernatural. The Bible talks about the natural and the unnatural. The natural is rooted in God. The unnatural is a consequence of rebelling against God. And I believe that in following Jesus, we're to look at the world and understand reality in quite a different way from often the way we've been encouraged to think about it. Holistic, integrated, well, what else could you expect when shalom is the secret of the universe? I've used the phrase radical mystic. I'm a radical mystic. I hope you're a radical mystic, because radical, of course, comes from the Latin radix, meaning root. You're someone who is rooted and grounded, as some New Testament writers speak, in God. Mystic, I know a lot of Christians who, I don't like that word. I love it. It's a form of the English word for mystery. And we're called to live in a world that is full of exciting mystery. And in following Jesus, we're engaging with this mystery. We're trying to make sense of it, get to grips with it. The mystery of godliness is a phrase that we find in the New Testament. Holiness, that uniqueness which identifies us with the character of God. Maturity. Very important. And it's interesting how in the Bible and actually in other faiths, spiritual experience is so often spoken of as being like the relationship between a lover and a beloved. And that's an image I'm very, very comfortable with. There's so many other things I could say about spirituality, but this, we haven't got the time to do that. But two things I'd like to just highlight. One is a truly mature spiritual person is someone who displays childlikeness in their behavior. I'd love you to spend some time the next week thinking about what does it mean to be childlike? Not childish. I'm going to come back to childlikeness again in a little bit. The second is that we're to be people who are pure, but having a purity that contaminates. This links in with what I was saying about fingerprints of fire. When I think about purity in the world today, I think of people in white suits in factories, probably making computers or something like this, and mustn't get any dust, any dirt, anything near. We're keeping everything away from anything that can contaminate. I love the story at the beginning of Mark's Gospel where Jesus is talking to a group of people and suddenly a leper comes up. Can you remember what he did? Everybody's backing off. Jesus steps forward and puts his hand on the leper and heals him. He contaminates the leper with purity. I just love that image. So in following Jesus, one of the things we're to do as spiritual people is to go around the world with our fingerprints of fire, contaminating people with purity. I just love that as an image. But there's so much there behind this concept of being a radical mystic.